Everybody, welcome back into the Horseshoe Lounge. It is a Monday. It is time for a fun, casual conversation in Roosters, a fun, casual joint. That is Justin Zwick, Bobby Carpenter, Bill Landis, and I am Austin Warden. It's a lot colder here than it was in South Florida. I left with our new normal, our beautiful San Diego of the Midwest weather.
50 degrees.
50 degrees
felt
before
great.
the rain came.
And then it was like, wow, there's nothing really different about being in South Florida. And then I came back, and you guys all let it start snowing sideways. That's not cool.
More snow later this week,
You're gonna get
too.
some more, yeah.
What's up with
Love
that?
it.
Hey, I don't care. Keep it all concise. January, mid to late January to mid
pack it
February.
right in here and then.
By the time we hit March 1st, man, be cruising
But
back
last
in the
week
60s.
was nice, man. 55. It felt like a nice spring day out.
It's going to be snowy. Just let it be snowy for a while. Get some of the outdoor activities. I'm sure Liberty enjoyed playing in the snow.
Huge snowman was built yesterday.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's nice packing snow. It wasn't like
It was good
abrasively cold. I mean, it was coming from Florida, but it was like
Not here.
it was like 30 to
It was
35.
nice. I was in northern Michigan, so as I came down, it was like, oh, it's not bad out
A
here.
warmer, but a little ski weather. I mean, you got to have it be cold a little bit to ski. That's one of the benefits of living here, Ohio, Midwest. You got some.
The mountains, not so much benefits here in Ohio, but
Maybe not
you got to travel to get to something like that.
But
You
still,
can get a hill. In a
Yeah.
some hills.
there
Go up
you
to
go.
Mansfield. You go up to
Belle Fountain,
Belle Fountain.
Bellefontaine.
Yeah, so it's good.
Belle Fontaine.
My kids have had ski club, and so like they've been dying to
there
get
you
some
go.
like
Oh, yeah.
real
Yeah.
snow and have all the stuff opened up. So you're not skiing across mud and just basically glorified ice. Rains all week, and then it just freezes over. I'm like, that looks real fun. Really.
Work on your edges.
Take
on
what
the
you
ice.
can get.
Yeah, so good. We got this, and we're right here, man. Winter conditioning started back up, Austin. We're ready to cruise.
Okay. Well, what's the first step of winter conditioning?
Oh, winter condition is 6 a.m.'s going? Or
No, like the winter
winter
workouts.
Winter workouts.
Winter workouts.
What's the first phase?
the ooze in phase?
The ooze in
Austin. You wanna- Guys had some time off. Some guys did more than others, obviously, and you figure out what you're doing. Some guys recovering from
Find out who did what when
injury.
they get them back,
Yeah,
probably.
that's surgery season. But Mick likes to push it in, and some guys will do more,
Yeah.
and if they're feeling good about that, and depending on, too, like how much you played during the season, where you're at physically. So they're kind of working everybody in, breaking in some of the new freshmen, and kind of getting it going, just getting those guys moving, building some strength right now, and start working into the run, and then you kind of transition more into the ground-based, on your feet, prepare for spring ball stuff. So that's kind of the whole evolution as you start. But right now, got everybody in there and getting after a little bit and building that base layer of raw power.
Base layer of raw power.
Bulking season.
Yeah.
It is. Well, you got to find, some offensive lineman wanted. All right, we're going to need some guys. We need some dudes.
Got the sign out?
So I told these guys, like, hey,
Justin's just standing outside the Woody with a hope on
Should
his
they
side.
just take the Coach Prime?
yeah.
There's one of those signs out by the Woody
Yeah.
A's. He's spinning them.
Offensive
O-line
line.
needed. Come on, stop in.
One
Like a
side
little-
says offensive line, the other says corner. Dude.
spin them around and get somebody dressed up in like a
Lady Liberty outfit.
Lady Liberty. Lady Liberty. I mean, you could have some sort of like primate or maybe like Bigfoot, spinning that thing out there. I mean, whatever it is.
Bill, Ohio State did make some moves in the transfer portal last week.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they did.
Not maybe the ones that anyone would have projected or thought, but
Yeah, I had a friend of mine who's a writer at another outlet who tracks the transfer portal quite religiously and said, "Who's Vic Cutler?" I said, "I didn't know who he was before today either." But it's an interesting addition. I think if you look
Let's
at
let the folks know who Vic Cutler is.
yeah, he's a young man originally from Detroit. Played at Louisiana Monroe.
3-1-3.
Was a 2-year starter there. Started every game at left tackle last year. He's not going to play left tackle at Ohio State. And there were some people like on the board at OhioStateRivals.com like, look at these PFF grades. He's not any good. And I was like, well, that might not mean anything because PFF isn't always the best
Wait, it's not perfect?
barometer of who's
You're telling
playing well.
me these metrics that we've built are not the flawless in their assessment?
That's right. Well, and if you did look at those, like his grades against Texas and Alabama were quite good. Which, if you're going to say these games are bad, then you have to acknowledge the good games as well. He's an interesting player, versatile. Will probably play center. I think to start here, could play guard as well. At the very least, he helps their depth because they really didn't have much to speak of, didn't have much experience to speak of outside of the 2 returning starters and the little bit that Josh Fryer and Enoch Vamahi have played. So they needed that. Whether or not he's a plug-and-play kind of player, I don't know. There's a lot of time to determine that. I don't know if Ohio State views him that way, but I think it was a need, if anything, to get a guy who's played a little bit of football in that room.
Well, I think it's part of it is like you just said, depth, competition. They got really lucky this year and really didn't. That was the one position where they really couldn't withstand many injuries. If they would have had like a running back situation there, I mean, I don't know what that offensive line would have looked like
Right.
by the end of the year. So bringing a guy who can compete, has position versatility, if nothing else, will push guys, because there's nothing worse when guys come in than like, I'm just the next guy up, and you really have no other option. So you can yell at me all you like, but there's really no one else. There's no one else for you to play.
I know what's in the cupboard.
I watched the film, and so do you. So the guys behind me, that's not a great spot.
So a new guy coming in maybe puts everybody on the edge of their seat a little bit, you know? I mean,
just like, hey, I mean, this guy,
we don't know him well. We don't know what he's going to really bring to us. And
he's played college football before. Probably quarterback and offensive line, maybe to a certain extent linebacker. I feel like experience matters a lot, being able to see pictures and going against guys, and whether that's at a group of 5 level or a power 5 top 10 level. I mean, just being able to see those things and understanding. That's why you see offensive linemen do it, linebackers, some D line, quarterbacks can make that jump. You're like, well, this guy wasn't that great coming out. Yeah, and he might not be the most physically talented guy, but you know what he doesn't do? Make mistakes and put himself in a bad situation. So whether that's a lineman with bad technique or a quarterback looking at this or a linebacker not being able to see things, just those reps help a lot. And so hopefully at least that's what Cutler can bring to the table is, some of those reps. And if you got to play guard, you got to play center, you have to play maybe some right tackle even. I don't know.
He's got reps at tackle too. So you could say any of the 5 spots potentially, which for a depth piece, that's pretty significant for Ohio State. They added one at quarterback as well, Jay-Z.
I know.
Jebbia. I like that he is embracing the coaching side of it. We've seen this before with Ohio State with Chris Chugginoff, Gunnar Hoke. Guys, they didn't really come in expecting
all name team.
Incredible, and he did deliver a couple key snaps for Ohio State at one point. So to have that backup option and someone who wants to get into coaching, it's good to have that arm too, as you said, somebody else for the room.
Yeah, I mean it's 100% amazing for that room because you don't know what you're going to get with these 2 young guys. You got 4 or 5 stars. You got a lot of those in the room, but what's it going to look like here when they are the ones taking snaps, and to have an older guy come in who, it's just different nowadays. Because back in our day, we didn't like each other. It was like these rooms are different than what we went through. I feel like,
well, because I think you have access. Like, hey, if you win it, dude. I mean,
100%.
Make each other better. And
here. Yeah, I guess you have an out. Back then it was like one guy gets to play and then you're done. For the most part. So I think it's huge to have a guy come in. I mean, Berm was telling me he thinks he's older than we are. He's a seventh-year guy who just wants to come in and learn from probably Ryan Day and be around the program and, help these kids. And then, on the other flip side of that is, say somebody comes out of spring ball looking really good. All right, well, what's going to happen? Somebody might leave. Then you have an experienced guy who can step in and come in a time where we might need somebody, if an injury or, something happens, you have some experience there. So it's big, and it was surprising. I had to go to my recruiting guy, not you or Berm, but, my buddy, like, anybody know anything about this guy? And, there's a lot of question marks, but, it's great to hear he's coming in with the right mindset, and I think that'd be huge for the room.
Yeah,
a pair and a spare.
That's right.
That's what we're always looking for. A pair and a spare. You need a 3-way banger right there.
There's nothing wrong with.
When's Lincoln coming in? Does he come in
June?
He comes in June.
Okay, so he's not early.
He wanted to. He made the decision. He was back and forth.
Hoops and baseball, man. I respect
playing
that.
Sports. And
he's a player, right?
Not specialized. Not many people doing that anymore, as I again found out by watching some 7-on-7 in South Florida with Berm over the weekend.
Well, those guys still run track and do other things, though.
Well, Bob, you're a huge advocate for the 7-on-7 stuff.
I'm an advocate of.
I would say he's more an advocate of the spring football. Let these kids have an opportunity to.
I'm an advocate for anything.
Well, for just more than what they're allowed to do now. Fair.
People are like, I don't like the club stuff. I'm like, you know what? Then let the high school teams do it.
Well, that's what Austin and I were talking about beforehand. Yeah. Like, if it was team sanctioned, school sanctioned, it'd be better than these all-star teams just pulling people from everywhere.
That's what they said. They'll turn to AU. Then you know what? Yeah. Have the coaches run it at their schools and let them have more days and the more ability to do this. Well, the coaches, some of them won't want to do it.
Oh,
they'll be lazy. Then you know what? Then they'll get fired.
They'll get fired and somebody else will come in.
I've never.
Who's going to take advantage of it?
I mean, think of all the high school coaches you know. Have you ever heard one be like, man, I wish I could do less with my players.
I don't want to do anything in spring.
My first year at Madison, I feel like the football coaches were the track coaches.
Yeah.
It was like, all right, we're going to do some sprints, and then we're going to do get on the field to get off the track for your shins.
This is a relay, Jay-Z, except you're going to
you're going to throw
a football.
And it's a ball instead of a baton, but you know how it goes. So, no, it's, I mean, yeah. Anyhow.
Couldn't find any of that. All right. Got sidetracked. I wanted
Not
to.
a sidetrack. It's real, folks.
It
Get
is
it done.
real.
It needs to be pushed. It's been 20 years. They've been trying to get more than that.
Can't figure it out.
I mean, the
somehow.
fact that Jay-Z and I graduated 20 years ago and it still isn't a thing. And I know that they won it over to Woody. Like this, Urban brought it up when he first got here. Ryan's like, why are we not doing this? We're not developing guys. They don't get as good of exposure. There's a ton of things, except for I have to listen to the spring sports boogeyman that spring sports will disappear if that's the case. But
all these other states somehow do it, right?
Only if it existed.
Yeah, oh my
somewhere
gosh.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
By the
we're
way-
not inventing the wheel here.
You
How
don't
have
even-
Florida and Texas and Georgia all survived?
I've been asking these guys, like, how did your spring ball work with Jacob Hester? He's down in Louisiana. How do you do it? Okay, well, this is our timeline. This is when we do it. You know, you start a little later. If their baseball team's really good or they're like the track season, they go, okay, you can start it during regionals because you know how many people make states.
Yeah.
Your whole track team ain't going to states. If you have like 2 or 3 guys, you're doing a
100%,
pretty good job. Like baseball, after the first round, half the teams are done. After the second round, another half. So 3/4 of the teams are done after basically 8 days.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? But Hess was telling me this. I talked to some guys in Florida. Steel Chambers, he's from Georgia. How do you do it? He goes, well, our school wasn't really big. Everybody played baseball. We didn't even have it. I'm like, okay, that's also an option.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
it's
Not everybody has to do it, right?
not
You just
mandatory.
give them the option if you want to and can go for it.
Yeah, not mandatory.
Yeah.
Like your coach, if you don't want to do it, they don't have to do it, and that'll be part of it. If you're at a smaller school, then I get it. But I know that's something that is. There's a dot in Ohio, and I know it's this way. Are you from Pennsylvania originally, Bill?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. People like Midwest. Dude, this is a big football country. It's like, well,
How big
if it's
is it
so,
really?
if people really care about it, don't just tell me you care about it. Show me you care about it.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing.
They don't live on the path of Northeast Ohio football. Like we don't do what other states are doing for their football programs for their kids who are coming out in high school.
Like Dan Marino and walking out of Pittsburgh anymore. Like the demographics, you know, what's his? Oh gosh, I can't even think. The running back for it's driving me nuts. Tony Dorsett. I mean, those guys, the Kyle Equip, like these, the dynamics and demographics have changed. So you not only that, so you're losing population and you're doing less than what other states are. So if you want to give your kids opportunities, make sure you get it out there. That's my PSA.
Boom, there we go.
And we'll have that PSA as regularly as possible until people start shaking the OHSAA. Until you
can't be
shake it.
shaking.
Well, that's all. Listen,
I know you're trying.
they will.
The
Shaking.
7-on-7 stuff didn't really change my mind because that's more AAU, and I was kind of put off by that experience.
I don't like
down
that.
there.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't great, but I remember Berman and I went down and we were doing stories on Quinn Ewers a couple years ago, and he's like, well, they have spring practice. We're like, what are they doing? He's just going
They
to
have football period.
And I went out there and I'm like, no, it was a real practice, and we like in whatever it was, May, like, oh, this is what they're doing. Like, and that's when it crystallized for me why all those other states, how much further that's if you have 15 per freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year,
15.
that's 60 more practices than you've had.
If you just have 2 weeks, 8 more practices,
Fun,
still basically another season in the state of Ohio when you have a 10-week season. But instead, you know what the OHSA does is they give you another round of the playoffs that nobody wanted. That's
Everybody gets into the playoffs, Bob.
That's what you're looking for.
Well, the schools will make more money that way.
No,
no, they don't. What?
OHS gets all the money.
Oh.
OHSA. Terrible.
You don't say.
I said, how about you give that week back? Oh, one of the places I talked to, you know what you can do? You can have another week at the beginning of training camp, or you could have a week of spring ball. How about that?
Ah.
So you can have different options.
Yeah.
The coaches have the ability to kind of figure out what works
Yeah,
best.
well, it works, for their
It's
kids and their
insanity.
team. Yeah.
Flexibility is insanity. Because I'm talking like they're working at this over here and showing there's empirical data. Like the number of top 300 players. I mean, Ohio had
saw
like
that,
13 and Georgia has like 32, and it's basically the same. The states are the same size. Ohio has like 500,000 more people, and I would say regionally, it's kind of set up the same. There's a lot of rural parts of Georgia. There's a lot of suburban parts, and then they obviously have Atlanta. Where you look at Ohio, it's obviously spread between a couple metro areas, but it's the same big school, small school mix that you're seeing from some of these different areas. So that's call your principal and tell him you want it, folks.
Get it.
Yeah,
You want more Ohio kids on Ohio State? Oh, that's what everybody says. Oh,
We got to get the Ohio kids.
let them practice.
I just don't understand. Like you made the joke about Texas, Florida, like states that famously don't have like good baseball and I don't know track and field. Like,
How are they managed?
They manage a way to do it. I just don't
insane.
understand why Ohio can't do it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Spring sports boogeyman is
Get-
coming for you.
Get to it, Ohio. Ohio State also had a decision from a guy to stick around with Josh Proctor, Bill.
I didn't realize that. I saw him working out.
How
I mean,
about
I
that,
have been told pretty directly by people involved in that decision that Josh Proctor was not going to return, and that he was ready for the NFL.
Was the NFL ready for him?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think he'd been here for 5 years. He
broke his
walked on senior
leg
day.
and he hurt his.
He thought he would when he got recruited. He thought he'd be here for 3. Okay, he didn't plan on coming back for year number 5. He certainly didn't intend on coming back for year number 6. But that apparently transpired. I am surprised by that. I don't really know specifically what influenced his decision to stick around. And as you looked at and broke down the safety numbers and how that's going to be configured, Bill, it's good to have someone with that veteran maturity and experience coming back.
Yeah.
But there's still no surefire way into the lineup. It doesn't appear.
No, there's not, and I'm gonna talk out of both sides of my mouth here. I think because when Tommy came back, people were talking about C.J. Hicks and immediately thought like, oh, what's this mean for C.J. Hicks? And my response to that was, Tommy's awesome. Why do you care about that?
Right.
But when I saw Josh coming back, my immediate thought was, well, what does this mean for Sonny Styles and Kai Stokes? Because I want to see those guys on the field, and it's a different dynamic because Josh is not an established starter. He has starting experience, but it's not nearly the same thing. But I wonder now about the dynamics in that room when guys like Kai and Sonny probably saw an opening to compete for a starting spot.
There still is an opening.
I agree. It's still there, but I have to believe that Josh came back thinking that he was going to have the first crack at that, or else maybe why would you? I don't know. It would be nice to be able to talk to Perry Eliano or Josh about that to see how they envision that playing out, but. It's a crowded room, and it's a room that needed experience, so I think it's good in the long run for them to have a guy like Josh back, but I do wonder about the pecking order and how they figure that all out now moving forward.
Well, those things typically work themselves out.
Yeah.
And Josh is a guy people are like, why? I'm like, well, it's more experience is always better.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at teams that are good when they have veteran players, it helps. Sonny Styles, he was in the in the semifinal game. Like he got out there.
Yeah.
Josh Proctor did not get in that game. So they're putting guys in there who they believe can do specific things. They'll let them battle it out. And also, Josh may have looked around and said, okay, I could go to the NFL, but what does that really mean? I mean, is he a draftable player at that point? Do you want to go in as a free agent?
Yeah, were they saying, oh, come, we want you.
Even if he plays 50% of the snaps this year, that's still a lot better than what he was able to play last year. Put some tape out there. He's a phenomenal athlete. And maybe he's kind of able this year to kind of pull all that in together.
I was pretty surprised, to be honest. Some of the stuff that was happening with Ronnie Hickman late in the year that Josh Proctor didn't get an opportunity to play in some form or fashion, especially late against Georgia. Now, we saw his struggles early on in the year. I guess maybe partly the reason I'm surprised is that Josh Proctor missed one tackle and was immediately yanked and didn't really have any opportunity to catch that back up. Against Wisconsin, I think he played more extensively. There were other stretches off and on. He played a lot on special teams. Apparently, those rules didn't apply to everybody.
They sure didn't.
I mean, it seemed early on that it was like one of those things like, all right, you messed up, let's bring you out to talk about it and get you back in, and then it just became less and less. But as far as him coming back, I mean, it's not like he was a Mike Doss 3-year starter All-American where there's like, hey, I'm coming back, I got my starting spot, we're going to go run this. It's, coming back and just probably trying to do something to get on film, get more film for the NFL, so when he goes and is a freak at the combine or, works out in front of them, they can say, all right, we see this. Now we saw him go back and learn and get better in his last, 7th year. And it's not going to hurt him per se, just getting out. Now, if he doesn't play at all and these younger guys step up because they see that spot and they're hungry for it, it could be, could backfire on him a little bit maybe, but I guess he wasn't a starter. Wasn't really. But
I don't think it does anything to worsen his situation.
Fair enough, yeah.
I mean,
it can only better at this point because it wasn't
you're a year older. I mean,
second day guy or anything. And
if you're undrafted free agent,
who cares?
That's basically what it would be the next year if you didn't play at all anyway. So,
well, and what do those guys get, Bob? They get like $5,000 if you're at UDFA to come to camp. That's your signing bonus,
and an opportunity.
Possibly,
like Ohio State roster players, every single one of them gets more than $5,000.
Oh yeah, it's not a bad. Listen, playing at Ohio State isn't a bad job. Like, it isn't a bad deal. I mean, there's a lot of work and things that go into it. A lot of guys stare at it. It's like, I want to go through another off-season conditioning again. Like that's where you start looking. I remember my last year. I'm like, finally done. Going to my senior year,
don't have to do that.
Last Friday, I walked out. Like, I'm done with this bad boy. Like, and it was good. I mean, I knew like there was no options to come back for like endless eligibility.
Well, yeah. And it wasn't like I'm going to come back and I'm going to make some money next year and do that.
It was really just a function of completing, a winter conditioning.
6 a.m. workout.
Yeah, you're exhausted. It's freezing, all that stuff.
All right, Bill, before you get out of here, what did you make of the basketball performance on Saturday?
Oh, good.
Good bounce back. Yeah, really good really good bounce back for them. Ice Likely is like that the way he played, like flirting with the triple-double, is kind of what I envisioned for him when he came over from Oklahoma State. And he had some personal stuff going on where he had to leave the team for a little bit, and I don't think it took him a while to get his feet back under him. If he can be something closer to what he was against Iowa over the weekend, I think they're in a pretty good spot moving forward. They can use him to help out Bruce Thornton, too, because Bruce Thornton, I think, was getting run into the ground a little bit as a true freshman who was playing 30 minutes a game. So good bounce back, but now they got to go on the road to Illinois and Indiana and try to win a couple more and turn it into a winning streak.
Oh, I mean,
Where they scored 93 on Saturday?
Yeah.
That's
Can they do that again?
It's you look at
I don't think offense is really the problem for this team.
Well,
It had been in those five
five
losses,
games.
man.
Yes.
It was
well,
like
53% on
clawing
layups
my
probably.
eyes out. Yeah.
I mean, did you watch that Minnesota game? I mean, they're
Unfortunately, I was there. Bill was not sleeping much at that point. Probably still isn't. But
It's but that's the thing. I mean, when you have a young team like this, you're going to get some sporadic play, and sometimes you lose one game to Purdue that you probably should have won. You're up 12, and you blow a gasket late, and next thing you know, that just spirals into 4 more losses of bad. You didn't play bad against Purdue. You played really bad in some of those other games. So hopefully now, like, you just needed that little turning point. They played really well.
A little shot of confidence of saying, hey, we can go out there and score these points.
We're the team that a lot of people considered maybe the second best team in the Big Ten when the calendar flipped. Yep. 3 weeks later, it's like, who are these guys? Mm-hmm. And I think tinkering with the lineup, putting Justice on the bench, having him come off. Like,
it seemed to work well. Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah. I mean, I'm not ready. Like, people are like, fire Holtman. I'm like, what are we talking about here? Like, they were just the best team, second best team in the Big Ten, and could have beat Purdue. And then all of a sudden, 5 games later, let's drag them out of here.
Burn the team. I mean, 5-game losing streaks are.
They had a 4-game last year and bounced back. I mean, when you have young teams, this crap happens, and it sucks because there's some internal things, guys. There's not a power dynamic that's like established. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff. Yeah. Oh,
what do we got?
Here's the real power dynamic.
That's a power dynamic.
Appetizer Tuesday, $3 appetizers all day long. Featured appetizer. Mini corn dogs, $3 all day long. They've got this delicious mustard dipping sauce, which is fantastic. You can even just dip your finger in it and just suck it right off of there. If you run out of mini corn dogs,
I don't know that I've ever heard mustard referred to as a dipping sauce, but I love it.
Oh yeah, what do you get the big pretzels in there?
Of course, you dip it in there, but I just like mustard dipping sauce.
It's versatile.
I would just say mustard.
It's a condiment, but also a dipping sauce.
All right, I'll respect it. And I'll give you the point on that. I was definitely wrong to suggest otherwise. It just sounded funny to me because I would just say, give me the mustard. Because I'm going to dip
Spray me with mustard?
just bring out the hose of mustard, and that's all.
Like that guy in the Bills Mafia, man. My son's dream is to get the ketchup mustard bath.
Well, if it freezes in midair, that's got to be interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah, it is.
I hadn't really thought about that. Okay. Bill's going to jump out. Berm's going to come in. We're going to come back with a lot more talk about Ohio State in here at Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint.
Roosters has been so fortunate. We just want to be able to give some of that back to the community.
They donate to organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long time.
They always go above and beyond to help support our foundation to further help veterans.
It's just a wonderful feeling to know that Roosters supports the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Welcome back into Roosters. We're in the Horseshoe Lounge, and we are going to talk some more about the Buckeyes and maybe Joe Burrow and the Bengals because it's that time of year.
Berm is so happy. He's on cloud 9.
Tried to just keep it going until Berm got in.
Here's the thing about Sunday, okay? Yesterday, I mean, we both flew back from Florida yesterday. We had to fly different ways because I was flying direct to Detroit and he went to New York. But for some reason, the flight that I took basically went the New York route because the weather was so bad everywhere. So they went all the way up the East Coast, and I figured by the time I got home, then you had to drive home through like 3.5 inches of snow. I got home. I'm already kind of frazzled. I don't like flying.
He doesn't like traveling, folks.
Doesn't like to fly.
I don't like to fly. I don't like
But you like to drive, so why would the snow bother
I do
you?
like to drive. That part
It
wasn't
wasn't that bad
still,
up there. I drove through that area.
It's still not great.
I didn't see 3.5 inches.
Still not great. Well, total duration through the day. What time did you go through?
I came through there probably about noon.
Yeah, see, you got it on the backside. I was an hour later.
All right.
Either way, it's not. You wake up at 4:30 in the morning. You're a little frazzled anyway. I was expecting a really nerve-wracking Bengals-Bills game, and then the Bengals just whipped their ass.
Just dominant.
It was dominant football from start to finish. And
Zach Taylor, Coach of the Year.
Look at that.
No, Lou Anarumo maybe though. I mean,
He's
that
good.
dude is unbelievable.
Their defense. I don't know what type of sorcery he works over there during the week, but I mean, I've watched him. People talk about Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes supposed to be the two up and coming elite quarterbacks. And he has those guys
it seems like every week they have a
their
different
number.
defense, and that's what's really impressive. They're not running the same stuff every single week, and I'm fascinated. I mean, this isn't a Bengals show, but to think about what they're going to do against Mahomes this week, when 4 times in 12 months is a challenge to beat anybody, let alone Patrick Mahomes. So they're going to have to come up with something
He's got a peg.
new.
Yeah, he's going to be hobbling around a little.
They're going to have to come up with something new again.
Might be what, Chad Henne?
Mahomes will play.
Chad
He's not good
Henne.
himself.
Still in the league.
Drinking the Henny.
But it's 12 degrees, supposed to be game time temp there. You never know what happens. You get a hit early in the game, and all of a sudden that ankle gets real sore.
I think that's
got your guy Sam Hubbard coming off the edge. Von Bell patrolling in the back end.
It's
someone with a little shankability.
Yeah,
Eli
it's
Apple.
fun.
Eli Apple finishing the game off. I mean,
smoking that cigar in the locker room.
Eli, I mean,
He's not played
game clinching pick.
Yeah, he's not played as bad this year as people want to.
Everybody just wants to crap on him, but here's the thing.
Played good in the playoffs last year,
he
didn't
did.
he?
He's not okay. He's not a top 10 corner, but he's also not paid like one. I tell people he's not compensated like that. He's a good starter. Is he going to get beat by guys that are elite? Occasionally, yes.
But that happens to everybody.
Most
Elite
corners
quarterbacks.
too.
Yeah, it's really hard.
I've seen Stephon Diggs burn everybody,
Yeah.
so it's not really that. Not anybody yesterday though.
No, well, he
burned his quarterback over on
He got Cam Taylor Britt on the first drive of the game.
Yeah, he was open, and Josh Allen missed him on a couple.
Why? Because of
Pressure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got
Pressure's important.
Hendrickson with a broken arm, just a little flailing around out there.
It's working. It's fun to watch this team. It's weird because, I mean, we've talked about it off the record. I don't believe that Zach Taylor's an elite game day coach, but he clearly has done a really good job letting Joe Burrow and the guys do their
Joe Burrow.
Well, he's letting Joe do his job, but he's also done.
Joe, go get him, guy. And that's what Joe's like. I hope he's here the whole time. I am.
Well, what do you like, Joe? Tell me what you like this week.
He's let the culture get fixed by
down
having
your
guys
top
like
20
Burrow
plays,
there.
please.
So it makes a big difference.
How about we got another Noah Brown sighting on Sunday night too? Is this his sixth year of the league?
For a while. I mean,
I think it's longer than that.
Seventh.
Good for him,
He
man.
to come out the year we were
The
down
Cowboys.
in Oklahoma,
I
right?
forgot Hankins played there.
Yeah, Hankins looked like
they have like
big
5.
last
Oh
night.
yeah, very robust.
robust.
But they have like 5 Buckeyes on the Cowboys.
It was quite a display for Ohio State on Sunday.
I mean, even going into
Niners.
next weekend, we got 8 or 9 guys
Between
from
the
Ohio
Niners
State.
and Niners, Cowboys.
Nick Bosa is the best defensive player in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, watching him, his pass rush is unbelievable. He's not a real human out there. You can't block him on the edge.
But how much? It's an
If
interesting
somebody gave
conversation.
Gumby super strength, that's what Nick Bosa is.
The way that I've never seen a
And
defensive
he didn't
lineman
melt down like his brother, so it's perfect.
line up the way he does.
Oh, with that stance? Because very few guys, here's the thing,
get that low.
can get that low. Because when you're that big, the amount of strength it takes to power out, you don't have that much juice. Like Nick's strength to weight ratio, his thrust to invert, I mean, he's like a fighter jet.
Yeah.
Like nobody else can just accelerate. I'm looking at that. I'm like, dude, that's like what you would see like a receiver getting, like a dude running the 100 meters, getting his leg right up there by his foot, and he just fires out and gets in the tackle. Next thing, yeesh, and the guy, I'm off the ground. My feet aren't touching anymore.
Let's talk Bosa. Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is an important offseason for Larry Johnson. So let's circle this back to Ohio State.
Yeah.
There has been in the last couple of years some belief percolating that some of Larry Johnson's success at Ohio State has been pretty much glossed over or deeply rooted in the fact those guys are just freaks anyway, and that Larry hasn't played much of an impact in their development. But then you see guys like Sam Hubbard, for example.
Yeah.
And then you can say, well, this is not the same story. So, you get a lot of time over there with Larry. You get a lot of time with the defensive lineman over there. What is it that you see that he's still doing at an elite level?
Larry's a technician. When it comes to pass rush, he's as good as anybody you're going to find. I mean, his knowledge, understanding, he gets out there and works with the guys. Would Nick and Joey have been first-round draft picks anywhere? Probably. Now, would they have been like top 5, that polished to where they are now? Probably not. And that's where I think that delineation comes. There's guys where, you may take Sam Hubbard never even played defensive line before.
Did you know he played lacrosse?
Yeah, he played lacrosse, played dodgeball too. Elite
dodgeball
player. But you're talking a guy who never played and then coaching him that position, and all of a sudden now the guy's one of the better defensive ends in the NFL. And so you can see him do it. What do you do with Tyquan Lewis there? I mean, I know he's been beat up a lot in Indy, but he was a heck of a
Devon
player.
Hamilton, and there's
Devon
a ton
Hamilton
of examples. You know, Jonathan Cooper,
Jalen Holmes. I
what he did, yes. I mean, he has developed a lot of guys, and so his skill development, the technical elements of what he does, is just really good. I enjoy. When he first got here, I just sit there and watch him an individual and what he does and how he operates to try to be able to pull some of those things. So whenever people ask me stuff, it's like, all right, these are some things that I see him do. Kind of lump that in with other stuff that I've seen people do, and that's how you kind of develop your coaching prowess. But
well, I think also though when you have the Bosa's go to the NFL and people talk or ask about, hey, how was your coaching at Ohio State? They're very complimentary.
They're complimentary.
I mean, 100%. He helped me get better at my craft, and I think that has a lot to do with
100%.
Recruiting and with people saying, all right, this guy is the real deal. You got these 2 superstars saying, I wouldn't be as good as I am today if it wasn't for Larry.
I think why the reason there's been room to criticize Larry Johnson, at least from my perspective, is that pass rush and the development stuff, I'm not going to question. He's as good as any defensive line assistant has ever been at doing that and getting his guys to succeed, not only at Ohio State or Penn State, but at the next level as well. You can see all that. There's no arguing. But as he's got, up in age, I think you've seen diminishing results on the recruiting trail. And, I think that that's justifiable and understanding coming not only if you just get older, but also he's from a different era of college football, and I think it's going to be hard for anybody to adjust to. Now you have to go in and talk about name, image, and likeness, and all,
messaging and
texting and what you're. I mean, look
social media.
Look at his Twitter account,
text messaging.
Not the most professional looking tweets that you've ever seen.
We haven't given that over to. There's nowhere else.
Yeah, nobody's running that. A GA is not running that for him.
Somebody should probably, but that's another matter. And then in-game management, I think that is certainly a fair criticism. Whether he agrees with that or not, I know that there's a lot of people inside the very building where he works who don't really understand why that's happening that way. I think that the ideal solution would have been what the Coaches Association and the NCAA were talking about, with allowing for the size of staffs to expand and allowing for other GAs or even other positions to give full-time responsibilities or designate someone who could recruit, while Larry could still go out and work on the 4 techniques in that toolbox. Right?
Yeah, he
have no problem.
He becomes your closer on the road, getting recruits, and then he's a guy in the field that is doing the technique and putting them through all that. That would be ideal, right?
That's usually what drives coaches out, is the recruiting element of it. As you get older, could you imagine Berm having to go out and recruit guys?
I saw him do it on Saturday. He's great at it.
Well, believe me, he can do it, but the problem is he can't recruit the volume of players because he'd be trapped to an automobile.
Let's be clear.
Yes,
not do any recruiting.
Recruiting them for content, Berm. I didn't say to Ohio State. Jeez,
awkward.
Sensitive much?
Awkward.
Yeah, I thought it was just recruiting them to his car.
This offseason.
He's the great thing about high school kids. He gets older, they stay the same age.
Hey.
All right.
This offseason is an important one.
Jay-Z pop culture.
Got some seltzers in my car.
As Ohio State tries to adapt to the new world of recruiting, you are looking at
the new world, Christopher Columbus,
a staff that is having guys like Larry Johnson and Jim Knowles who are not out there and elite recruiters, but they lost guys like Coy McFarland and Miguel Patrick, who were the guys doing most of their recruiting work. Matt Guerreri, those are the guys who were doing a lot of the day-to-day recruiting work for Jim Knowles and for Larry Johnson. So I think it's an interesting off-season conversation that Ohio State's going to have, and one of many, where you wonder if now that the transfer
Brian Hartline was recruiting everybody now.
He does not. Where the transfer portal window is closed for people to leave right now, you got signing day coming up again.
But you can still fish in the portal.
You can certainly still fish.
They're not adding any fish, but the fish that you can get
You're still reeling.
Still there.
But it's one of those big offseason questions where you do wonder still if there's a chance for Ohio State to do anything, or if Ryan Day thinks that he needs to make any sort of changes from a staff alignment perspective. And as you look into the next couple weeks, I still think that that's a possibility.
Well, and I think, especially with what you mentioned with the guys who helped and assisted at linebacker, that's a necessity. And the biggest prize out in that market would be James Laurinaitis. I mean, I know that is at least in the realm of conversation for both James and Ohio State. It didn't work out in a couple examples before. Bob probably knows more intimately about that than just about anybody else. But
I've seen him naked probably more times than anyone at this table.
I think that's a guarantee.
That's the
I was on a team with him a little bit longer than you. I'm questioning what was happening after you left Ohio State.
You guys can battle out those.
I would come back and shower.
That's right. You were always fair enough.
I used to shower with the dudes, and then I got to be a certain age, and you
don't shower with the dudes anymore?
Get in the cold tub. Cold tub, you still have pants, you still have skivvies on.
You walk in, you should be peeing on guys' legs still.
No, these guys get weirded out because I'm old enough to be their dad now. So that's where I kind of.
You got to draw a line.
Hey, Uncle Bob's in the shower.
You got to draw a line somewhere.
I played against Marvin's dad, dude. Like at some point, hey man, I was in the shower with your son the other day. Good deal.
It's a tough way to start a conversation. Hey, Marv, how you doing? I was in the shower with Marv the other day.
This is a casual conversation. I'm not going to say it's a fun one.
It is fun. But anyway, I mean,
by the way, Marvin's still at the facility. Still hasn't transferred.
Oh, so he hasn't left yet?
The portal closed last week.
There's a lot of stuff.
I don't know. I thought
he was out.
He might have some sort of like Ho Chi Minh Trail secret portal tunnel to get in there that we don't know about yet.
So
it's hard to pack all that stuff.
What site? There was another USC reporter last week after the transfer portal window closed who still said, I got some more legitimate insight on this. It's still a possibility. Down the road.
Everything's a possibility in today's world.
He might be still be weighing his options until May. Like, give it up, dude. Like, we know how this stuff works.
Anyhow,
it's now more like the NFL than ever before. With agents can say something, boosters can say something, and then it immediately becomes something.
Becomes fact.
Leaking whatever you want.
The good news is when he was walking in to work out, he had some nice cologne on. So it's not like he's just mailing it in. Like he is ready to go. Dressed
smelling good, play good.
I'm like, buddy, I don't know if you're ready for the club or for the gym, but either way, like you're ready to rock.
So the question is, in a conversation like Ohio State's trying to have with James Laurinaitis, right? Which is maybe there's an opportunity for you to come back here. He wanted to start his coaching career at Ohio State a few years ago.
Moved and sold his house and his ranch.
It didn't work out, but now there's potentially an opportunity with Corey McFarland gone to come in, work with Jim Knowles, be the assistant linebacker coach, and I mean, it seems like a good natural fit for both sides. But again, are bridges that were
how much of that?
Do bridges get burned, Bob?
Bridges to Terabithia.
Tell us the truth.
I don't know. Were bridges burned? I don't think
there's probably a little smoke started.
I don't know if there was ever anything like burned to the ground about it because I don't think there was ever any promises made. Like the only way things like truly get burned to me is if there's like promises made or insinuations made.
We had you and
then like
the original conversations were not like
you're here for sure.
James is definitely 100% interviewing, and this is an offer that's
exploratory
on the
stuff.
Yeah, and Ryan Day at that time didn't really know if James was committed to coaching.
And he had just brought in a new linebacker coach, right?
Yeah.
It was like the same timeline. Yeah.
Al Washington had just started, and there was a fear, from what I understand, that by having someone like James Laurinaitis in at the same time, that you could see another situation like what happened with Brian Hartline and Zach Smith, where the position coach.
So wait, Al, I don't think Al's into that type of stuff.
I'm not. No, but I think that was the fear. That
I was in his office. There was never any of the orders and the
what
toys.
I'm trying to say.
He went to Bishop Watterson for.
What I'm trying to say is there was some concern that potentially the position coach could be almost
cuckolded,
invalidated in some ways because the guy that was the assistant position coach had a much better reputation /
assistant to the position coach.
Oh boy, he had a much better resume that people would maybe pay more attention to what that guy was saying.
And I get it, but here's the thing with that, and Brian didn't come in here with the idea of trying to usurp Zach. Like that wasn't ever his intention, and just like James coming, and I don't think James would have been in the situation where he's trying to undermine. That's why I go over there too, and I talk. Every guy that's been here, Fick was never an issue because he just tell me shut my mouth and get out of here and do whatever. And then
We've been doing that for 20 years.
And then we may get into an argument on a sidebar somewhere. But whether it was Billy Davis, even when Greg Schiano was here, Al Washington, was there anyone else in between? Now Jim Knowles. I'm like, listen, I'm here as simply a resource. Working out with guys, and I'll talk to you. I'll tell you what I see, different things like that. I'm like, but I'm never here to step on anyone's toes. So I don't ever want you to think that is what is going on. And I know James, if he in a far more official role would ever feel like, because James is a team guy. He was a team guy when he was here.
Yeah.
So you don't go from being a team guy in life to then trying to destroy your teams by breaking up the staff, pulling guys. Don't listen to him. If you have an issue, hey, we'll sit here and talk. And this is what coaches have told me. There's a hierarchy. It's like the military. You don't necessarily agree with something that's going on. You talk about it in staff. You may have a disagreement on practice. All right, we're going to do it like this. Talk in the staff meeting. You come to consensus, and whatever that consensus is, it may not be what you wanted, but that's what you're going for. And if you don't like telling your players, well, I didn't want to do it like this. No, you're on the team. Yep. And now that's the way we agreed to do it, and that's the way it was operated, because whether it was the DC, the head coach, the OC, whoever it was, that down the line, we made a decision that this is the way it's going to be. And that would have been the case. And so hopefully, I would love to have James back.
That would be great.
I love him. He's
his reputation as a recruiter is elite already. that's
because he's
indisputable.
When you have a resume and and you're honest, and then you couple it with Heartland, you're not even really I told you, you're not selling, you're telling. This is what Ohio State is. I don't have to sell you on it because I experienced this myself. So this is exactly, how it can help you, how it can benefit you, what can happen, and how I can coach you to make you the best you can be.
Seems like one of those things that we should be paying attention to.
Maybe you should go to Notre Dame and stalk out James afterwards.
I don't think
sit there in spring ball. I don't know.
Too old.
That is true. He is.
I'm not sure what that means. This is so weird. This has been
Not
the
a high
weirdest
school
episode
guy.
of this show of all time.
That's not true.
It feels like it.
We've definitely had.
We've had way weirder.
It's
You're
gotten
just-
way.
I haven't
it's
even
gotten
talked-
way more weird.
You're a prisoner of the moment.
I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood at about 11:30 on Saturday night after finishing up the NFL games.
That's one I haven't caught yet.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah,
It gets really weird. Have you
a
seen
movie
it?
that Jay-Z hasn't seen?
Yeah,
yet?
well,
It's good. It's Tarantino.
it's got to be new.
Yeah.
It was 2.5 hours. It finished up at 2 o'clock. It was 12:30. I'm like, how much more do I have? This I had another hour. I'm like, jeez. It's already 3 bottles of wine deep. The splotch just meandering all around. It was entertaining. It was very good. But I didn't even bring any of that up yet.
I started the day at 7 a.m. by watching She's All That on a Delta flight.
That's fantastic.
Perfect way to start your Sunday.
I love She's All That.
I think it's got to be one of the most
I
underrated.
white
I
knuckled a
watched
car.
the movie Nope on my return flight. Nope. Yep. Nope.
I don't
I
know.
thought you'd be
Never
watching.
heard
I
of
thought
that
you'd be sitting
Yeah,
there.
it's Key and Peele, the guy.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought you'd be watching
the guy
some.
who does the
It's an alien
Penn State
movie.
coach.
It's an alien movie.
Jordan Peele,
Jordan Peele, yeah. One of
I
his,
thought
the other
you-
one?
yeah.
one of his
the other
flicks.
guy.
I thought
One
you-
who's not
Well, the
James
one
Franklin.
does James Franklin, right?
Yeah, I thought you'd be watching some high school film or something like that.
No, they don't have that available on the plane.
We had the 7-on-7 film. That you
Yeah, I
had
thought
for the
you'd 7-on-7
weekend.
film. You'd just be scanning, pouring over that,
I was just watching.
Nope.
trying to ease your anxiety.
Yep.
It's good.
That seems like a good place to end it. We could get a lot weirder, Berm. I thought you liked the
I
strange
feel like
episode.
this is.
What else do we have? It's National Signing Day. That's coming up.
There's
in
nothing coming. Ohio. It's next Wednesday. Ohio State will definitely not sign any more high school players. I don't think, not to scholarship anyway. You will see probably some movement, maybe a preferred walk-on or two that signs, but there will not be a scholarship offer. One of them, I think that the Buckeyes are in a really good position for Radzinski's kid, which is a really good player.
J-Rod?
Yeah, really good player.
Jerry's got a kid.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
really good
He's got
athlete.
6 kids.
Really
Six.
good athlete. 6'4",
Boy,
200
4
pounds,
girls,
runs
boy.
well.
Yeah.
He's a good athlete. I
Bring him in, what, like outside backer?
Yeah, I'm
type
surprised he doesn't have, Division I offers, MAC offers. I mean, people are still. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a couple of those come his way in the next week. But he's a player that, he's a good athlete. You look at it and you're like, your dad was pretty good, and
It's tough. I know that. I mean,
like to see those Buckeye roots extended.
sure.
think how much better he would have been with spring ball.
we
60
can
more
end it on that.
practices.
We can. It's a full year of development that these kids are missing in Ohio, and you're screwing the kids.
Say 60. I think they'd be happy if just they had 7 to 10, and it was somewhere
something
between
they're able to do
28
some
to
kind of
40.
football activity.
Close the gap a little bit.
They're just screwing the kids in the state. Basketball players can play year-round. Baseball players can play year-round. Volleyball players can play year-round. Golfers can play year-round.
My daughter plays tennis, and I was talking to her, you can have your private tennis coach you year-round.
Every other athlete in Ohio, except for football players, can do whatever they want to, and football players are confined to this little window that makes zero sense and puts them well behind their peers in Georgia.
Doug Ute knows best.
Yeah.
In Ute we trust.
Yeah.
Remember that.
The 2 Utes.
What's a Ute?
That's his last name. I don't know. Ask Utah. They'll let you know.
All right, I will do that right now.
Yeah.
We missed Nicole Cox this week. We hope everything
Where
is
is she, by the way?
taken care of. A sick, recovering child. It's that time of year. That's how it goes. So she'll be.
Bronson just got his braces off, man. It should be celebratory. Maybe he drank too much over the weekend. That's a joke, folks. He's in 4th grade.
That's right.
Maybe 5th.
He's not ready for that yet. Soon, give him 2 more years. 2 more years, he'll be ready. But Nicole will be back next week. We'll be back into the Horseshoe Lounge at Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint for our show. Appreciate Bill Landis, Jay-Z, Bob, Berm. I'm awesome. We'll see you then.